what's going on, guys? Today is the second video in my Blender series. What we're going to be doing is starting to actually get into doing what Blender can do. So last time all we did was move around, do some renders and viewing, but this time we're actually going to get down and use Blender, and we're going to make something that hopefully looks decent, alright? So last time we finished off here, just a basic render, a couple shadows, 3 different sides on a cube, and it gave us this cube. We didn't even do anything. So what we're going to start off this time is changing the shape. So instead of using a cube, we can make a sphere, or a monkey head, or a cone, or anything else we want to do. So what we'll do is select the cube, and all you do is right click. Now I know it seems natural to left click, but if you notice, left clicking will move what we call the cursor. We won't be using the cursor now, it's not that big of a deal, but what you want to do is right click on the cube, and you'd see it's going to be selected and turn orange. So from there, all you do is delete it by hitting X. And now it's going to prompt you with making sure if you want to delete it or not. And yes, okay, just click it or hit enter. And now we're left with a blank scene. So now we're going to add in a new shape. We don't have to make it, there's plenty of presets here in Blender. And to do that, you're going to hit Shift A. Once you hit Shift A, you'll see this add menu show up. You have all these options. All the ones that we're going to do is here in Mesh, this top one. And here's all the options we have. Here's the monkey head I was talking about. We have a sphere, circles. This was the cube that we had before. But there's one thing we want to do before we hit any of these. If you did, you could just hit Control Z or Command Z to delete it. The cursor is moving around when you left click. And so what's going to happen is wherever you click this cursor is where the new object is going to show up. And it's going to be kind of weird because the camera's not facing there. So hit Shift S and now you have snap. What we want is cursor to center. So just click that. Right, now it's in the center. Now don't left click from here. Hit Shift A, Mesh, and put in anything you like. I'm going to do the monkey head. And there you go. So now you have it. Looks alright. It's obviously not realistic, a little cartoony. But there's stuff we can do to make it look nicer. So the first thing we're going to do is kind of get it above over the plane. So it's not like digging through the floor. To do this, the best way is to go to side view by hitting 3. And now you can see we still have perspective. So if you don't want that, you could hit 5. And so this is how I normally work. Now you see some grid lines in the background. It's easy to work with. So from here, all you do is hit G for grab. It's going to move around. And now you can either just manually move it up, or if you want to make it easier on yourself, you could hit Z. Now you're locked into the Z axis. Now if you don't know, the Z axis is going up. It's blue. And then you have the X axis, which is the red. And then the green axis is the Y in the 3D space. So we have that. Now next, it's kind of floating on its chin, so what I'll do, I'm going to rotate it by hitting R. So G is to grab it and move it around, and then R is to rotate. So I'll rotate a little bit, and now I'm going to hit grab again and move it down. And I'm not going to snap it, I'm just going to drop it. It's alright. Okay, there we go. And that's that. And now why don't we add a floor? And the best way to add a floor is hitting Shift A, go into Mesh, select Plane. Now we have a floor. It's really small, so we can make it bigger. So we've gone over movement, we've gone over rotation, now we'll do scaling to make stuff smaller or bigger. To do this, you hit S. Now you could scale it up. Now you could either drag this all the way out, but that's not always the easiest way. So all I'm going to do is type in a number. So you could type in 10, for instance. It's going to multiply it by 10. And you could have done any number you want. You could do decimals, fractions, it'll do math for you. And so it's as simple as that. Now we have a floor. So we could actually render this from here and see what we get. So by hitting F12 or this render icon right here, and that's what we get. Better than before, but still not great. So now we're gonna get into moving the camera. So hit Escape or go down here to change it to 3D view. And now we can select the camera by right clicking. And you see it turns orange. Now what we'll do is select the view the camera by hitting 0. And now you can see what it looks like when we render. And so the same as before, we can hit G to grab it. When you hit G, it's going to be moving around. We could also rotate it. The only thing we can't really do is scale. It doesn't do much. So you can grab it, you can rotate it, you could specify axes. But here's something that I like to do, is hitting Alt-R and Alt-G. Now you see when you do that, if you do both, if we go to Z for wireframe mode, you can see it moved it to the center, and it's now facing down. So anything you do to it, if you ever want to start over, I would just do Alt-R, Alt-G, and it goes right back to there. So what we can do now is rotate across the x-axis, let's say. Now we can specify any angle, anything from 0 to 360. So I'm going to do 90. Now it's facing directly forward. And now, so it's not half through the plane, we can move it up a bit. And now, just like any camera in real life, you can drag it out by dragging these arrows, or you can hit G, and make it so it faces the monkey. Hit 0 if you want to see what it looks like. And actually that's not too bad. I'm going to grab it, and you can still do it across the Z and everything. So I'm going to grab across the Z, rotate a bit. You can play around by hitting X, Y, Z. So this is Z, this is Y, and this is X. That's what I want. So actually this is what I'm going to go with. So you could have it whatever you want. You could try to get it to look like this. Now we could render from here. Hit F12 with a button. And okay, now we get a little better view. I'm going to go escape again. And now here's what we can do. Why don't we get started with some lighting? So I'm going to start with the background. So what we could do is either have a really bright happy scene, or we could have like a dark kind of sadder scene. I'm going to start off with a bright scene. So here in the properties panel, we haven't done anything other than render yet. We have all these icons here. The first thing I want is this little world. If you hover over them, it'll say what it is. It's called the world tab. So I'm going to hit world. And now what that does is give us basically the world. All this gray in the background, we could change it to whatever we like. So right here, horizontal color, see it's gray. I'm going to change that to a bright white. We can make it all the way. Now it's not going to change it here because this is just our viewing world, our editing. But if you now hit F12, you see it's all bright in the background. And it kind of did seem to brighten up the rest of the scene, but not much. So there's one other thing I'd like to do. We could stay here in render mode. If you go here, you hit ambient occlusion, and now hit render again. And all of a sudden we get a nice brighter scene. It's fuzzy, but we can fix that. So if you're fast enough computer, you can go to samples down here, make it a bigger number. So I'm going to put it at 10. Don't go too much higher than that. We don't really need to for now. And then render again. And most of the fuzziness goes away. For final render, you could probably put it up to 12, 15. It all depends. So that's that. Now let's get some color. So hit escape again. Right click to select the monkey. And now we'll try another properties panel. You can actually see that stuff changed when we select the camera versus the monkey head, because this is an object that we can edit and do stuff to, but the camera is just a camera. So what we want is this one. This is called the materials tab. So if you hit that, now we want to make a new material. And from here, you see how the color kind of changed. It just defaults to a light gray. And so if you click on the color, same as before, you can make this whatever you want. You can make it blue, you can make it red, you can darken it, make like a brown. I'm going to make a blue. Okay, now you could render that again, see what it looks like. Actually, that's pretty cool. It's kind of like a nice crystal head. Now there's a lot of other features that we have here that we could go over. We have this called emit, which will make it shine, kind of like a light bulb where it's bright. Obviously it's not good for this scene, but if we make a darker scene, it'll definitely look better for there. We have transparency, which allows you to see through it, but actually you have to change the slider a bit. And that was too much. And you can see in real time what's going to happen. We have a monkey head option right here. And so that's what that looks like. Okay. So that's color for that. And now lastly, we could do a little bit with the light, the lamp, it's called. And we have several different options here between point, sun, spot, and so on. Point is basically all we need for a basic scene like this. And same as before, you could grab it any way you want. I'm going to grab across to the Z. Now I'm going to go to top view, which is 7, remember. I'm going to grab it to maybe like right here. And we could render from there. And now the light is in front of the scene instead of behind, making it look a little bit nicer. You can see it's bright right here and then dark over there. So that's pretty much it for this simple video. Just an overview. We went over grabbing by hitting G, rotating with R, and then we can also specify axes with rotation and grab by hitting Z, Y, or X. And then we went over scaling, which actually we could scale the head too. And we did some rendering, some lighting with ambient occlusion and samples. And then we did some lighting with the lamp. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Next time we're going to be going over how to edit an object. So please make sure to subscribe so you can check that out. I'll put a link to it in the description below or in the little box right here in annotation. So I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.